I lost almost $300,000 because I didn't know my numbers. No knowledge of what I should be charging, what my man-hour rate should be, this and that. SynkedUP, when I joined and I got my budget call done, that was the key moment that I realized we were on the wrong trajectory in terms of how we priced our jobs. It was really a key moment. I mean, nobody can sustain losing over and over again. I'd have been bankrupt. I've learned a lot about what things really cost. That's been huge for us in terms to understand how we can actually scale the business.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cost of Doing Business podcast. Today we're actually crashing another venue's location. We're at the Hardscape Mentor brand new launch event for the location that Hardscape Mentor is putting on. And today's a day of speakers and all of that. And of course, we got a room full of SynkedUP users here, and I'm with Robert. Nice to see you, man.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
It's the first time we met, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah. So give us a little bit of an introduction as to about your company, like what kind of projects you do, what your team looks like, how long you've been in business. Like give everybody listening kind of the lowdown of what your business looks like.
Yeah, I mean, so we're just right at 2 years in business now, and we're a team of 20 between office admin and field personnel. Most of our projects are larger scale projects, so we're going to be in that probably $250,000 and up range on average.
Okay.
I mean, we recently just did a job that's multiple seven figures that we're getting ready to start. So it's been an incredible journey.
In their first 2 years.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. I mean, it's like strapped on a rocket ship.
Yeah. So what do you say to the guys that are doing, not to interrupt your story, but what do you say to the guys that have been in business for 10 years and struggling to close their first $100,000 job?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I've always said this, that leading with an impeccable design is the fastest way to set yourself apart in the market. And so no matter where you're at in your business, whether you're entry level like I was or you've been a seasoned veteran, I think the first thing you have to do is how do you separate yourself from the market? Once you can create market separation, the demand for your services goes extremely high. And then it's like, man, you can go from that 50 or 100K range and start pressing those higher volume jobs, larger scale, more profit, if you know your numbers.
And what does that have to do with it?
I'll give you a quick 2 minute. We don't have a ton of time today, but to give you an example, before I started using SynkedUP, especially the financial piece, I lost almost $300,000 because I didn't know my numbers. So when I started this thing, we were on this ride. It was growing really fast. I had no knowledge of what I should be charging, what my man-hour rate should be, this and that, right? I was so addicted to the high of selling the next job. I just didn't think about it from the business principle. Got introduced to Techo Block. Later on, quickly after that, started using SynkedUP. And honestly, SynkedUP, when I joined and I got my budget call done, that was the key moment that I realized we were on the wrong trajectory in terms of how we priced our jobs. It was really a key moment. I mean, nobody can sustain losing over and over again.
Right.
Luckily for us, we had some cash reserve and some ways to be able to float to survive. But it was very impactful. I was like, oh, it was completely different than what I thought.
So if nothing would have changed, though, you'd have blown through your cash reserves and
I'd have been bankrupt.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot about what things really cost when you start breaking it down. And that's been huge for us in terms to understand how we can actually scale the business.
Sure. Yeah. Like what do you have to sell an hour for? What do you have to sell a square foot for? Those kinds of things. Yeah. So, okay, before SynkedUP and when you were essentially on the wrong trajectory, like how were you doing it? How were you thinking about it? How were you viewing it? How were you actually doing it in real life?
Price per square foot.
Okay. Yeah.
And, obviously as I've played with SynkedUP a lot, I've learned that, hey man, we can start building those templates and we can, if somebody wants to see it in square foot pricing, because that's what most people still consider the industry norm, although we're trying to change that, you can really start to understand, well, I can do 1,000 square foot patio in this amount of time, and you can convert that into a square foot pricing.
That's the way I've always said it too. No judgment again. There's nothing wrong with square foot pricing. It's just that the square foot price is the result of all my other calculations. It's not the input right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
and the days of, how it was done, it's like, okay, well, I can get the paver for $6. I can be $2.50 a square foot for base, $1 for poly sand, $6 for labor, and throw 20% on it. Like, that just doesn't work anymore.
Right. There's too many other variables.
Yeah.
And then what happens is you start getting comfortable with like, oh, I've done the work, it's that square foot rate. But then it's like, well, okay, let's say I do a square foot rate on a job that I'm bidding. Let's just use easy numbers. 400 square foot, it's square, minimal cuts. You can do that in a day or two, right?
Right.
Now let's go sell another job. It's also 400 square foot. I use the same rate, but it's a 100-foot long curved sidewalk, 4 feet wide with a soldier course border.
Right. Now you're there 2 or 3 days.
Exactly.
Right.
And the thing is like the only thing that changed is the labor. Right. Everything else is still the same, in generalities.
Right.
But and so the idea is instead of using the square foot rate, just like put how much labor do I need? Mm-hmm. How much material do I need? Like if I got to do a raised patio, well, then the aggregate changes, although nothing else changes above that, right?
Right.
So it's like the thing that gets you into trouble with square foot rate is when you are under or overcharging. It's very difficult to ascertain where it's wrong.
Yep.
Whereas if you're looking at line by line, labor, aggregate, sand, pavers, it's much easier to identify where the problem is.
Yeah. And that's really, that was stuff for us because we came out, we were designing stuff in a market that it had never seen it before. Uh-huh. So we created that demand very quickly, like, okay, we want these guys to do our work, right? And so, but because we didn't have a handle on everything, I was in a tough spot. And it's just amazing how this industry, when you open yourself up to learning, and I think that's the biggest thing, as guys who are artists and craftsmen, we always want to have total control.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, this is the way. I've had to quickly learn that, man, there are a lot of people who know a lot, no matter where they're at within their business. You could have a guy who's doing $500,000 a year, and he's a one-man band with a helper, making really good money for himself, but he may have a vast array of knowledge, and I think that's what helped me understand is because I started to get introduced to a lot of people as I started to ride the Techo train hard in Atlanta and really help that Techo market grow because that's what we do. Like, we're just big Techo guys. The byproduct of that was like, hey, we're in SynkedUP now. We're using this. We're introduced to these people. And at the end of the day, those are the things that changed our business for the better, mm-hmm. is being open to something different. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Not being adverse to change.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think we are lulled to sleep. Like, it's so comfortable to keep doing it the same way. And to the degree that we will, as humans, we'll continue doing the same things the same way we've always done it, just because it's familiar, even if we know it's not the best way, or it's broken, or it's causing me pain in other areas. Yep. Like, for whatever reason, it's like the psychological, the threshold of pain that you have to encounter before you'll finally change it is just. I don't know. It's the battle that we all have as entrepreneurs, making decisions on how to grow and how to run a better business.
It is, and I think the people that, as this industry, I feel like is catching a new wave. If you look at the industry today as it was 4 or 5 years from now, there's a huge push with the big hitters in this industry to change how the industry is viewed. And I think it's really cool, and I've had to just open my doors to a completely new light. And honestly, it was the hardest thing I've probably been through in the last 10 years in life, because I was as the Stonecraft brand grew, I coveted it so tight. But I realized there was a waking moment where I'm like, man, the point that the pain that I was going through was more than the pain to change. When you hit that point, I was willing to try something different, mm-hmm. because I was scared that pain of losing everything that I worked hard for, mm-hmm. was like, it was greater than trying something new.
And the more to the degree to which like you have less and less and less to lose, like it's like you got to the point where you were like, there's an end to this runway. Like I'm gonna run out. I'm gonna go bankrupt if I don't change something. So there you were at a degree of like, I have, quote unquote, nothing to lose, and I have to change. And then you were finally like, okay, what got me here isn't going to take me there. What do I need to do differently?
Yep, and it was just being mind-opening. You know, and I've had a lot of great mentors kind of along the way, and now they consider me their peer. But you know, Dan and you know, Jack Kelly and I are great friends, and you know, a lot of the guys who have a lot of clout in the industry. And it's one of those things where I was like, they literally looked at me and was like, hey man, some days you're the teacher, other days you're the student. And I had a wealth of knowledge, and I get to share with a lot of younger guys in the game, and we get that. But honestly, I can't thank you enough for the effort that you've put into the software, because it saved, that budget call saved my business. And it's the craziest thing to ever think about, is like something like that can literally change a man's life. And I don't think people look at it that way. I think they look at it, it's like, oh, I got to pay $400 a month for this. There's surely got to be a cheaper way. And I'm like, you know, I'm a living testimonial that I thought the same way until I got into that budget sheet. And that thing is just, it's powerful.
It is. It's, I think my favorite thing about that budget sheet is you start, well, it empowers you to stop reacting to reality and start designing your vision, your future, like the way you want that business of your dreams to look like. Because instead of like making a decision on can I do X, Y, Z based on how much money I have in the bank account, it's like, well, I don't have the money yet. And I'm selling at my whatever I'm selling at right now. But if I did this, if I made this strategic move, if I made this strategic hire, if I spent this money here or there, like, let me put it in the budget and see what happens. And then, and so you like psychologically, you're switching from reacting to designing. Like you are in control. You know? So, and that's such a tremendous breakthrough.
It is. And I think the most dangerous business owner that's out there is the one who thinks they're in their control, but they're really not.
Yes, the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Right? It's like, I think I'm in control, but no, like you're really not, right? Because you're reactive to every single thing you're doing, so you don't have control. You think you do, but you don't. And that's a dangerous spot to be in.
It is. What would you say to the contractor that is living a similar story or has been through what you've experienced? And this is something we hear a lot in this industry. Is like it's an industry full of craftsmen, people that take pride in their craft and working with their hands. And I'm not a tech guy. I'm not a computer guy. Why should I pay money for a software? I just like to see things, tangible things. What would your advice or comment be to people that feel that?
I think for me, when I look at those guys, because that's really kind of been me, I think it's worth the time to sit down, even if it's for a weekend, on board for the software and give it a try. It's not like they have to commit to a year with you.
Right, it's month to month.
It's month to month. There is a discount for yearly, obviously, but I think really there's a huge value and a lot more money in your pocket if you're willing to do something maybe you didn't done before. And I think to the guys who are in the field, who are just like the old school type guys who care about it, it's like, hey, look, you know, you want a little more. Sometimes you got to do things you're not willing to do to kind of take that next level. And I think it's absolutely one of those pieces where if you just trust all of the SynkedUP users out there, because I think the story is very similar amongst all of us. Right? It's like, okay, I can say it, but when you have 200 or 300 or 400 other people saying the same thing, then it's like, take the leap, because I think it'll open your eyes to a whole new world. And for me, that's just meant more profit. And it's, by doing that when I did, it's allowed me to scale
so much quicker.
So much quicker.
I think probably the biggest common theme I hear in people after their first year or two in using SynkedUP is like, I was lying to myself for so many years. I should have done this 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or whatever. I should have done this right in the beginning, but I was telling myself like, I'm too small, that's for bigger guys, or that's for, I'm not a tech guy, or I got my spreadsheets or whatever it is. It's like when they because you don't know what you don't know, right? And when you finally understand for the first time, you're like, oh my goodness, I thought I was saving $400 a month, but it was costing me $100,000 a year.
And exactly. And I'll tell you the truth, what really helped me for my business, this is the biggest thing, and this is the easiest way I can simplify it. I knew what net margin I wanted to be.
Sure.
So I took in all of our expenses, everything that we had, and I knew that materials should be 30, 35%.
Yep.
On the higher, if you're using premium materials, it could vary a little bit. But so I'm like at 35%. What I really found out was, I said, okay, it gave me an eye-opening that, man, if you have all this stuff and this is what you want to do, you got to be a $6 million a year company. And I was like, oh, well, this is different, but it's okay, because now what I could do is I could start to market in a different way. I could start to understand, well, this is how many leads that I need to have coming in the door. This is how many close rates I got. If this is my closing percentage, this is how much cash that I need to have each week. And so now it's not just, well, how do I market? What do I need to sell the job at?
You're making it specific.
Correct. So now I'm like, all right, I can back into this number. Right? And it helps me understand, like if I'm selling at a higher man-hour rate, sure, maybe I need to increase my leads by double.
To keep that.
Keep that rate.
Yep.
Because you're going to close less of those people.
Sure.
But it was a quick eye opener. And then I just simply said, okay, well, if it says I got to do 6 million, I divided that by 52.
There's your weekly revenue.
There's my weekly revenue.
Got to hit that.
And as a business owner and a guy who also has the passion for the industry, because we're craftsmen, that's a high level, quick thing. Like, boom, I know, because I have all my guys in, I know that if I hit that revenue, I'm on track.
Right.
Pretty close.
Unless you're buying stuff you never put into the budget. But yeah, you're on track. And I just want to highlight something that you just said that I think is so effective, is when you can take a aspirational thing, 6 million a year, and turn it down into a weekly or a daily thing. The power of that is, sure, you might want 6 million a year, but like, what's it going to take? It's going to take hitting your daily revenue goal every day to hit that. And so like the thing is like if you're measuring a yearly number, it's going to take you a year to find out if you're going to hit it or not.
Right.
If you're measuring a daily number, you know now.
Right.
And so it's like suddenly you start looking at like, well, dude, I got to do 12 grand a day. Or whatever. You pick your number. I got to do 12 grand a day, and then you're like, well, you know what? I can't do that little job that I thought was making me money. It's not making me enough of revenue per day to cover my overhead. I built a machine. I built a beast. I need to feed the machine. You know what I mean? And so sometimes what happens is as we grow in our pride and our craft, and like you saw Dan Preston's story of how his craftsmanship went up and up, what tends to happen is you build the machine and the infrastructure and the team and the equipment to produce that. Well, guess what? That means you can no longer go out there and mulch Mrs. Jones's flower bed for 3 yards of mulch.
Right.
You build a machine that can't pay its bills on that. Well, sure, I guess you could, but you're gonna have to charge 12 grand.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's the cool thing, especially for the young contractor.
Yeah.
Who maybe they're just getting started and they see guys like Mulder, some of these guys who got big operations. Let me tell you, you go start plugging them numbers in and it's a bigger pill to swallow than what you like me. I honestly told myself I wanted to be 15 to 20 million. I can tell you right now, I'm not prepared for that. I'm not ready. Yeah. I've told myself like I'd rather cruise at 6, 7 million for a couple years and then make the decision, man, do you want to take it on? Because going from 7 to 10, that's a massive undertaking. Very big.
It takes a very different team,
And there's a lot that goes on with it. Instead of, the hype these days, it's like, oh, everybody can have a multi-million-dollar business. Well, it ain't just that easy.
Yeah.
But we've really been able to wrap our heads around, $120,000 a week. That's simple.
Yeah. And this week if you're hitting it or not. Not like, we'll see how we get to by the end of the year.
And then it makes it manageable because then like you can punt, you can crank up maybe ad spend if you need more leads. You can
Right.
make decisions that help you take that huge number and make it a little more manageable.
Yeah. I think the key principle that I'm hearing in your whole example there is like, you took something from you just shrunk the time horizon. Like, I want to look at things from a yearly perspective. Now, what's a monthly, weekly, daily? And then you get, if you get down to the weekly or the daily, you get so many more cycles to tell you if you're on or off track. And you can make decisions in real time before it strips you of cash flow.
Correct.
You know.
And then the other thing it helps you do is it helps you understand how you want to stagger your jobs. You know, do you want to, how do you want to stagger jobs? Maybe you need to start your jobs at different times to hit that weekly number, right? And maybe you structure your draw schedule a little different.
Sure.
Yeah. I never would have been thinking like this if I didn't go through the process inside of SynkedUP to understand what it really looks like.
Dude, it's such a fun thing once you start, you know, kind of, I guess, what would you say, graduating from like flying by the seat of your pants to actually starting to think strategically, you know, think in systems. Like, okay, you know, like you said, like, well, if I need to do that, my close rate's this. If I'm gonna hit 6 million, my close rate's that. That means I need X leads per week. And my leads currently cost me this, so bam, there you go. Hey, I need to up my marketing budget by X.
Right.
You know, it's just like, it's such a empowering, like you feel more in control.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that was, you know, obviously when I was going, like super stressed all the time. Now this has allowed me to understand I gotta have people around me, but we have very big transparency. So every single crew lead of mine knows, hey guys, you four are responsible for this number. You've got a PM, we've got people that do scheduling and ordering the materials, but this is the goal. And so now bringing transparency to the team
That's
and
huge.
building that team camaraderie and environment,
Yeah.
it's massive. And it makes managing at whatever scale you are so much easier.
Even if you're just a couple people, it still makes it easier.
Absolutely,
Because-
because it's like, man, you know, and then like maybe you can do things that make you more profitable to, even if you're a couple guys, to get that next piece of equipment to
Yep.
make your guys' quality of life better.
Yeah, that's right.
Quality of life gets better, guys are happier, more profit, they can earn bonuses. A lot of things start to happen, and really that's the glue and the backbone that hold the company together. And so the next thing you know, you've got guys that are super happy, you're not killing their bodies, you're not doing all this stuff, and we're all in business to make money. At the end of the day, right? Yeah, there's a lot of people, I mean, I don't focus on dollars. I'm passionate about the industry. I love what I do. I want to give as much knowledge as I have, and I want to learn as much as I can. But at the end of the day, we still are in business to make money, and this just keeps you with the system of checks and balances to ensure that you're tracking to do what's necessary for you to earn a living.
That's right, because at the end of the day, if I'm going to be paying money for the privilege of doing the jobs, I'll probably go fishing.
Exactly. Yeah, if I'm going to spend $100,000 out of my account to give somebody something beautiful.
That's a really nice Alaskan fishing trip.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, I'm just going on vacation somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I still have money left over.
Yeah, it's cheaper.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, some questions I ask on the podcast of everybody that comes on is a couple different things. What is the most difficult challenge you've ever overcome?
When I was staring down the barrel of starting this thing, I mean, I look back probably my last 10, 12 years of life. I mean, that was probably the biggest thing that I've ever faced. And what made it the biggest challenge is I had to put on this inspiring, joyful face every day because I didn't want to let the team see me sweating because that drives morale down. Also, when you're around customers and you're having those internal battles, it's a big challenge they don't want to feel that vibe from you, right? That gets them scared.
Yeah.
To be able to overcome that and somehow manage to keep my composure during the day and then really be lost at night and just like, dude, I got to figure this out. That was probably the biggest thing that we overcame, and it was a huge gamble. But I can sit here to say, man, I'd do it all over again. Really.
Yeah, we are.
I love where we're at, and we're making an incredible name for ourselves in our market.
And you guys are like I've followed you guys on your Instagram profile, and like you really have a really nice brand, and it's an inspiring kind of feel from your content.
Yeah, and I did have sales in my younger days, and I think the one thing that I wanted to do was build a culture in the company that makes it like, man, it's cool to be a part of Stonecraft.
Yeah.
Right? It's cool to work here.
I got to experience that as an employee at Tussey Landscaping.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of similar to, and like, it's not an easy thing to do to create a culture and a vibe where your employees are proud to wear that swag or
right.
to be a part of, I work for Stonecraft or I work for Tussey. But like, I will say, like, the Tussey guys pulled it off, and I think the way they did it, this is just my opinion, because I worked there for 15 years as an employee. I was not an owner, never was. And the way they did, what made me proud is the way that they gave us autonomy. Like, they were like, you're adults, like, here's the hours, kind of what you were saying, here's the hours we have to hit. And then it's like, we got the open access, transparency, visibility. Are we hitting them? Are we not? Like, that's what SynkedUP does.
Yep.
But like, then if we didn't hit them, it wasn't like, guys, you're screwing up. It was just more of like, hey, why do you think that's happening? And when that happened, we kind of had buy-in, right?
Yep.
Because like, we saw that our voice and our opinion mattered, and changes were made when we suggested like how to be more efficient or whatever. And like, that's how you kind of get this team camaraderie. Like, we're all gunning for the same thing going, right?
Yeah.
It's like when your voice matters, as an employee, your voice matters, you have camaraderie, you have buy-in. And the other thing is like, if we were incentivized or bonused on, say, hitting hours or coming in under hours, guess what? Suddenly we were upset if the materials didn't show up on time.
Exactly.
Like, we started to think, us employees were thinking like owners.
Right.
Because the owners did a good job of designing, the incentive program, or like sharing the right information. It's like, hey, we're winning if we're green if we're this, we're red if we're that. So that's tremendous.
And that's what I try to do, and I'm so ingrained in it every day that I really didn't see what that looked like until we went to the Hardscaper Showcase this past year.
You took your whole team, didn't you?
I did.
I thought so. I saw Alex's post.
Yeah, there was a whole, we had the whole front row, and there were so many contractors that walked up to us, and some of them were like, hey man, how do I just join the team? How do I be a part of this? Like
gravity, the bigger you get, the more people you know.
Right, and I was like, man, what I've always dreamed and wanted was it. And I say this as an owner and the people that have ever thought about working for us is like, look, I want to give you the best quality of life I can, and for your family. And I know that if I do that, I know that in return, I'm going to be taken care of.
That's right.
In the business will.
That's right.
And our customers will.
And your employees can tell if that is your intention and your vibe and the way you show up in your business. Yeah. If it's just more of like your task monkeys, I mean, that nobody feels loyalty or commitment to a work culture like that, Yeah,
and we did our Christmas party, and we did it we're in the big shopping center where our office is, and man, I remember us getting up from the table and the guys coming up and giving myself and my business partner hugs. Some of them were in tears, just like, man, I love working for you. And these guys from Mexico, I got a guy who's been with me 18 months. At October 1st, I bought him a brand new Dodge 2500. And to be able to just impact someone's life that way. And it just goes back to, I've been able to do those things for them because of what you created, right? And so it's a spiral. You're changing the lives of us as owners, and the smart business owner, and he's going to pass the torch. He's going to change the lives of his people. And then it's a big ecosystem. Yeah. And I am an advocate for this industry that every person who aspires to be a business owner needs to join that ecosystem. Not the one where we're racing to the bottom. Yes. Right? But the one where we say, I want to be like that, whether I'm doing 500 or 50 million. Right. It doesn't matter. An abundance. Right? It is, the same culture, leadership mentality, whether you're doing 500K or 50 million. Yep. The mindset is the very first thing that gets there. And that's why, I think, and that ecosystem is a special part of the ecosystem to be in. And I know for Stonecraft, we're newer to this industry and there's a lot of big hitters in it. I aspire to be in that same ecosystem as them. And you know, this is, you really created something that makes that possible.
Well, I appreciate that. That gives me goosebumps because it's like, that's my vision for why we created SynkedUP is like, you know, contractors don't struggle with being lazy. Like they're the hardest working people out there. Salt of the earth, shake your hand, firm handshake, look in the eye kind of people.
Yep.
That's not the problem. The problem is like, you know, my wife comes from Romania where there's just like, you know, I lived over there for a while. It's just like you see a generation of people or another culture of people where entrepreneurship just looks, I mean, it's just way different, right? It just isn't really there. So when I come back home to America, and I'm like, man, if you're going to get out of bed every day and you're going to like say, I'm going to be a positive contributor to society, I want to do everything I can to make sure you make it.
Absolutely.
And thrive, you know?
Absolutely.
And so that's why we coined our mission to end entrepreneurial poverty, to enable prosperity for contractors.
Yep.
And so to literally hear you as our customer repeat that back to us it's really the best reward I can get. So
yeah, and you guys have done a phenomenal job. I mean, like I said, I'm not the guy that's ever going to toot someone's horn or just jump on a bandwagon. I'm a pretty real dude. Like, I always tell people, like, I think yay or nay, but I can confidently sit in this room and say, because of a dinner I had with Techo Block, that led to me buying in to be their guy in Atlanta and being kind of the contractor that they're like, Wayne Oost was like, bro, are you all in or are you all out? And I'm like, I'm all in with you. And he's mentored me. Mm-hmm. Because of that conversation, I landed here, and I can honestly sit here and show you the proof in the financials that it saved our business. And for every reason, man, we're always going to be supporters.
I appreciate that. It means a lot, and I just want to, thank you guys for putting your faith and trust in us for your business, because that's no small thing. It's your baby.
It is.
So thanks a million for that, and I look forward to where you're going to go in the future. Like you got a bright future ahead of you, and thanks for sharing kind of like your journey, the mental mindset journey that you were on, because hopefully somebody will listen to this and be like, you know what? I am right now where Robert was 2 years ago, or whatever, mindset wise, and I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off, take the plunge, all in, all out, and realize the same benefits of those decisions.
Yep.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, buddy. Yeah, man. And just thanks to you guys. I mean, the support's incredible too. If I haven't logged in or done something, just because again, we're on that rocket ship, and I'm still trying to put some people in place that take some load off of me. Kyle, I get a text message from him. Hey man, it's good to see that. To me, that shows genuine faith that you guys, have genuine care about our success. And that's the kind of people that I want to associate my business with. And ultimately, that's the kind of people that this industry needs. Yeah, exactly. Because the only way business works is if the buyer, your customer, is succeeding, getting the value in exchange. There is no cash cow that doesn't eat. Correct. Yeah, exactly. So it just makes, and it's one of those things. This just allows us to make smarter decisions.
Yeah. Thank you, Robert.
All right, buddy.
Cheers.
All right, man. Yeah, there you go.